It is not an easy decision to get to surrogacy. I think people think that it can be like very glamorous of like, oh, someone else is gonna carry my child. That was not my case. And it was for me the last option. I had 3 embryos. I miscarried one and the other one we implanted, it didn't take, and he was my last embryo left. I had tried IVF multiple times and they'd be like, girl, you got nothing. We kept trying and trying. My sister took me aside and she was like, what is it that you want? And I was like, I want to be a mother. She was like, does it matter how you get there or is it the end result that matters the most? And I was like, wow, I never thought of it that way.
In 2022, Adrienne Bailon and her husband Israel welcomed a beautiful, healthy baby boy, Ever James, via surrogacy. Now, you might be asking, Rebecca, why are we talking about this? Why is this relevant? Why do we care about Adrienne Bailon and her family? Well, she and her husband recently put out an 8-part series describing the journey of welcoming their baby boy after 8 failed rounds of IVF. I want to break this down and make this concise so that you can have some solid takeaway points and you can be fully equipped to understand what the risks are, what the experience is like for women who go through this process, because in this journey, in this video series that she put out, she describes this daunting, this painful journey of getting to her beautiful baby boy, Ever James. And she really broke down a lot of these myths and a lot of these perceptions that women, modern women, have about IVF, about pregnancy, about fertility, about all of these things. She and her husband were family planning around her career, around her schedule, around all of these vanity metrics that she had in place.
Well, I work from September until May and I get the summers off, so probably giving birth in the summer would be best, top of the summer, so that I can have the 3 months off with my baby and I'll go right back to work in September. I regret that. I regret that so much now, because when I look back, I'm like, I don't care if it interrupted everything.
Yeah.
What I would give now to have gotten pregnant and it be an easy journey, I wouldn't have cared at all if it had disrupted every and anything.
Sure.
So with that being said, thinking about these things meant that I had to get pregnant in August, give birth in May. I'd have off May, June, July, August, 4 months at home with my baby, and then come back to work in September. And these were the things that we were kind of being crazy about. So to sit down in a doctor's office and go from like, okay, so this is the plan, to him pretty much halting my whole world when he did the first exam and checked my follicles and was like, we've got a problem. You do not have the amount of eggs that you should have for someone at your age.
She touched on the fact that she regrets putting her career over having children. And she actually tells women that peak fertility is at 24. Let's hear that part.
Peak fertility for the average woman is at 24. I've got to be honest, like, I was shocked by that, because 24 years old, and then I thought to myself, what was I doing at 24? Like, I put my career first, I got my life together. I finally found the love of my life, someone I married. And that felt totally normal and healthy on a societal level at 33, 34. Sure. 30 is the new 20. Biology has not caught up to society. These are just the facts. When you get your period, technically that was the indication that my body was ready to begin to have children. Are we in the Bible times? Like, what? Like, that just blew my mind personally. So he pretty much was telling me I was old, people, and I was not prepared. for that information.
She not only went through this 5-year process, she did extensive genetic testing, not only on herself, but on her husband. She took all of these medications because if you don't know what IVF is, let's start from there. You inject yourself with synthetic hormones. The hormones stimulate the egg production in your ovaries, and then a doctor comes in and physically removes them from your body. In the lab, they fertilize the egg with the semen, and you have an embryo. And then that embryo goes into genetic testing. They can check for the chromosomes. They can do all of these other tests to see the viability of this embryo. And a lot of embryos don't make it through that process.
Because at this point, we're now down to 4 embryos. They've told us that 4 of them have made it, and now they're going to genetic testing. And I'll never forget that call. And it was, "Hi, it's Dr. Suri.
How you doing, kiddo?" What do you say?
Yeah, "How you doing, kiddo?" And he would say, "We've got bad news. We've tested all 4, and all 4 are abnormal." And I remember being like, "Wait, well, what does that mean?" They said, "You actually did get 2 girls and 2 boys. And they've all tested abnormal."
Meaning Downs or something, right?
They were missing chromosomes. I did have one that did test for Down syndrome. And then 2 of them were just not viable and not good. And so I was like, okay, so what does that mean? And
He basically said, "We got to try again."
If you are an average person, if you are an average family and you're going through this process, you're spending anywhere between $12,000 to $20,000 per IVF cycle. And the success rate on the first try of IVF, the first cycle of IVF, is 55%. So it's a literal coin toss to see if it's going to take on the first try. And it usually takes up to 3 cycles to have a live birth. So not only are you spending money on the IVF process, you are also spending money on all of the medication because a lot of it is not included in the price of IVF. And on top of that, you're paying for genetic testing. You're paying for cryo freezing. You're paying for maintenance. You are paying for all of these different things. Modern women are talking about, oh, like if I don't find a man in my early 30s, I'm just going to go freeze my eggs. I'm just going to go through the IVF process. I'm just going to hire a surrogate. Surrogacy costs up to $90,000 to $250,000 depending on the state that you live in. And for Adrienne and her family, she is going to the top doctors. She's going to the top specialists in the field. So she is paying probably double what the average woman, the average family is going to spend on IVF. You need to understand this. IVF, surrogacy, is very costly. It's very mentally, emotionally, physically draining.
Tell you what else was not as glamorous as we thought. And they said, "You're going to go talk to so-and-so in the financial office." And we were like, okay. We walk over there and she begins to say, "These are the charges. This is what the practice charges. This is what the doctor charges. This is what the anesthesiologist charges. This is, you're going to have to go to this other place to do this." And we're like, we're looking at each other like hitting each other on the table like, is this, and then it was like, oh, and by the way, it's going to be about $7,000-8,000 worth of shots and
yeah,
and
because
medicine.
you also have to pay for the medication separately, which was a lot of the cost.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm sitting here and going, oh, this was supposed to be a glamorous experience. And when we're saying glamour, we mean expensive.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that recognized, wow, I have such a desperation to become a mom. And I can't imagine what that would feel like if this wasn't an option for me.
Right.
And I know that there's so many women out there that financially is not an option for them.
Honestly, it's very naive for modern women to just say, oh, like, I'll just get a surrogate. Oh, I don't want kids right now, but I'm not thinking about this. Age affects fertility, how your egg count diminishes over time. And that's not including all of the chromosomal issues that could happen and things that could be passed down the older you get. To be naive and think that, okay, I have all of the time in the world. I don't have to worry about this stuff right now. I'm still so young, and society says that it's okay to push my fertility up and up until my late 30s, early 40s. Like, it's totally fine. But biology is not the same as society, okay? Your biology hasn't changed for thousands of years. Thousands of years, this has been what women's bodies have done. And for you to think that, oh, because I'm meeting up with society's expectations and my needs and desires, that I'm just gonna have an easy time having a baby. So as women, we have to get out of this delusion. We need to wake up and be honest with ourselves about our age, about our fertility, about our health. And I'm hoping that this video will shed some light on that, and Adrian's story would shed some light on it. And that is why I wanted to make this video, because it needs to be said to women. It needs to be said to the masses. The desire to have a child will come later on in life. You might be the odd woman out, but more often than not, women will get to their late 30s and have this intense desire to have a baby the same way that she did. She went through great lengths to have her son. 8 failed IVF cycles, a miscarriage, and finally going the surrogacy route. This woman has spent at least $500,000 to have her son. So many women out there won't have that opportunity. They might go through 1 or 2 rounds of IVF, and surrogacy is definitely off the table if you are a single woman having to pay your way through this, or at least you would be in so much debt that it's not even worth it at the end. And so many women will get to that reality and be so bitter and angry at the fact that they missed their shot. They missed their opportunity to have the only thing that they really desired. And I don't want to see that for women, especially if you're young. If you are young, start understanding your fertility now. Go to the doctor. Take these tests. There are $100 kits online. Modern Fertility is one of them. And then Let's Get Checked is another one of them. I am not sponsored by any of these companies. Just go get checked. Understand what your body is doing now so that you can prepare yourself for things that could possibly happen. We need to go into this eyes wide open. That is my video for today, guys. I hope that you got something from this video. If you are a man that watched this, please send this to the women that you know. Please send this to your wives or whoever needs to hear this. Really, okay? Guys, if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.